everyone, so come make this really cute Easter bunny pot with me. So what we're going to need for this project is a hot glue gun, some fairy fabric. Now mine is actually from an old seat cushion that I just picked up at IKEA and cut up. You'll also need some sort of pot. Now I'm just using a Bisto pot that I've cut the top off so it's not too tall. Or you could also use a tin or a plastic cup. I also have some yellow cards, some floral paper, a glue stick, scissors and a pencil. So the first thing we're going to do is stick that main piece of fabric onto our pot. We're going to do this by using the hot glue gun and start at one end and put a really good amount of hot glue on. We're then going to line our pot up and stick it onto that end. Then we're going to start rolling our pot along the fabric, and whilst we're doing that, just adding some more hot glue in to secure it all the way around. Now when we get to the end, what we're going to do is move some of the fluff out of the way, and then again we're going to use a really good amount of hot glue right along the other edge of the fabric that we've already stuck down. Then once we've applied the hot glue, we're going to stick down the rest of the fabric. Now don't worry if it's overlapping too much because we're going to cut that off in a second. So just hold it in place for a second, just so it's fully dry before we try and cut the excess off. Then you want to fold the excess back out of the way, move some of the fluff so we don't end up cutting loads of that off, and then trim the excess off. So now that our fabric is all stuck on, what we're going to do is trim around the top and the bottom. So that's our main pot done. What we're going to move on to next is creating the ears and the feet. So to create the ears for our bunny pot, I'm just going to use some of the scrap fabric that I had left over. And first I'm just going to cut one ear out of the fabric. Once you've cut the ear out, just put it against your pot and make sure you're happy with the size and the shape. Now the fluff on this fabric is a little bit too long for what I want for the ears because it will be harder to stick the cardboard down. So what I'm going to do is just trim it down to a good length first. Now once we've finished trimming the first ear, what we're going to do is draw around the first ear on the scrap fabric so we end up with the same size and shape. Then cut that ear out, and then we're going to trim it down like we did with the other one. When we've finished with our 2 ears, we're then going to move on to the feet. Now for the feet, again I have a bit of scrap fabric, and I'm actually going to pull the fluffy part of the fabric off, so we're left with the foamy part underneath. Now on my piece I do also have some small little black rubber grips on my fabric, so I am just going to remove that as well. So now I'm left with just the plain white foam, and what we're going to do is go ahead and cut out the shape of one foot first. And then like we did with the ears, again, just cut around the first foot that you made so we have the same size and shape. So now that we have both of our ears and feet cut, what we're then going to move on to is the decorative cardboard and floral paper. And we're going to start cutting out the shapes to stick onto our ears and feet. So what I'm going to do first is draw around that white piece of foam that we have for our bunny foot. This way we can draw and cut out the correct sizes for the pads of the feet. Then I'm just going to freehand draw the large pad of the bunny foot and the 3 toes. We're then going to cut these pieces out. Now when we finish cutting out the pieces for the first foot, what we're then going to do is take those pieces and draw around them so we have the exact same shape and size for the other foot. Now once all the foot pieces are cut out, we're then going to move on to the pieces for the ear. And again, we're going to draw around the fabric of the ear so we know what shape and size to cut out for the ear. And again, I'm going to hand draw the shape that we want for the ear. When we've finished drawing it, we then want to cut this piece out and then again draw around that piece that we've just cut and cut it again, so we have two the same size, one for each ear. So when we have all of our pieces cut with the yellow card, I'm then going to add some decorative floral paper for the middle of the yellow card. We're going to do the same process as before by drawing around the stencils, cutting out the right size for both the ears and the two large pads of the feet. Now once we've finished cutting out the floral paper, we're just going to stick it down onto the yellow card. Next, what we're going to do is grab our hot glue gun and then start sticking down all of our card pieces onto the fabric. So next is to start sticking everything onto our pot. We're going to start off with our ears. So use our hot glue at the bottom of the ear, and using the joining of the fabric around the pot as a marker, stick the ear just inside the top of the pot. Do the same for the other ear and stick it right next to the other one. Then we're going to move on to the feet. Now you want to put the hot glue all over the back of the foot and stick it at the bottom of the front of the pot. And again the same for the other foot. And there we go, we have finished our Easter bunny pot. And you can fill it with whatever you like. I put a little bit of sawdust in mine with some Easter treats on top.